Hi, I'm Eric Ward. I helped get AgBiome started back about 10 years ago, and I helped Scott organize the activities in the company now.
Hi, I'm Scott Uknes. I'm one of the founders of AgBiome. The fundamental nub of the company started when Eric and I were on a bike ride. I think we were off a Big Woods Road here going around Jordan Lake, and I had been thinking a little bit about starting a company and been talking with Mike Koziel and John Riles about it. And I asked Eric, well, you know, I'm thinking about doing this stuff. I don't think you'd be interested because you're so happy with where you were, having so much fun. But, you know, if it's just something you'd consider, whatever. And next thing I know.
Yeah, I think, you know, I give Scott all the credit for actually coming up with the areas that we're working in. He saw this really big opportunity from the deep involvement that he'd had across the crop protection business when he was working with Bayer previously. And there was obviously this really big opportunity in using microbes in ways that they hadn't been used before, and expanding their role, particularly in crop protection, coupled with this need that's generated by the fact that all the chemicals we're using now are, you know, modes of action that are at least 20 years old. So that one really sung to me, and the fact that, you know, a bunch of these guys, Koziel, Scott, Dan Tomso, who got involved early, Vadim Balanson, they had all had a really successful experience with Athenix, and this seemed like it was sort of like Athenix on steroids. We were going to do what they did on a much bigger level than they ever did it, and in addition, go for products that were based on microbes themselves, not just the traits. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me to get involved. And plus, you know, as you know, Scott and I have known each other since August of 1982, so it wasn't like a big leap of faith to say, hey, let's do something together again. So it was, you know, really fortunate timing, I think, for me to get asked to get involved when I did.
I have been with AgBiome since the very beginning, day one of operations, and currently I'm working in the traits project. I've had various roles throughout the years, but always very much on the science side and concentrating in the lab. At the time that AgBiome was in the final stages of formation, I was looking for my next adventure, you might say. I happened to have a conversation with Scott Uknes, and he mentioned that he was thinking about putting this new company together. I told him immediately I'm interested.
Oh, day number one I remember really, really well. So it was in building 18. We had 6 desks there with 6 chairs and a Bowflex machine or some kind of exercise machine right there. Basically nobody had anything. Eric and Scott had their computers and were sitting there at the tables or desks and typing something, and we had nothing. So first thing of what we did, we went to Best Buy and purchased ourselves some Apple products that we used as the laptops. So that was day number one. It was quite interesting.
It was mainly exciting. I had been with a couple of small companies before, so the idea of coming into an empty building, coming into a new business without partners at that point, without defined, set up projects, that was all just kind of par for the course. You know, that was stuff we knew that we had to do. It would be messy. It would be a work in progress for a long time, but it's also really exciting.
So discovery is so intrinsic to everything that we do. You know, the real first things we did were to just go out into the environment and just collect stuff, like from people's backyards initially, because we knew right from the beginning we always wanted to be able to prove that we actually owned the samples that the microbes came from. So our own backyards were a pretty good place to start. We got the first bacterial isolations done in the old building 20, 50 yards away from here within days of when we got the lease of that building.
Which was actually a former daycare center.
Yeah.
And the very first isolations were done on the diaper changing station,
Yeah.
but it was cleaned before we did any isolation.
Yeah, that was the bench, was
Yes.
the diaper cleaning station. And we had, the minimum lab equipment in there that you could get something done with. So it started out really quickly, and within 6 months we'd hired a few more people. We had a pretty standard workflow for doing bacterial isolations, and I guess right around then was when we really hit on this idea of we're going to just do complete genome sequencing and everything.
Yeah, that was an interesting start too, because there's a lot of debate about what we should do with these isolates that we had. And the two camps were, we should sequence every gene in every isolate and just pay for that and figure out how to do it as cheap as possible. And the other camp was, we should use some other technology. Typically back then it would be lipid profiling of the strains in order to be able to determine what species they were, or what genera they were anyway, and then just use that information. And we decided we were going to go ahead and sequence everything. And it was expensive at the time, and the data we got out, the first 4,000 or 5,000 strains that we sequenced completely, we actually couldn't really do anything with the data. We could look at, if we found a gene we were interested, we could look for a homolog, but we really couldn't do anything much more than that. And Dan Tomsell really led the first bioinformatics effort at being able to try to figure out different tools that we could develop to be able to mine that data. And now we're at our 5th or 6th iteration of that. It's been just profoundly good idea to have started with all that data, even though it was expensive.
Kind of the biggest challenges were to take our big general ideas, and what I remember most clearly is we want to be the discovery engine for agriculture. And how do you translate that into projects? Initially, starting up plant pathology screening, insect screening, finding the people and the resources and the pathogens and the insects to do those things in-house, and then starting the conversations with potential business partners who would fund our work, who would be our customers to purchase the projects, to partner on the projects, and then eventually purchase the technology, purchase the products. Those were kind of the biggest unknowns, I would say.
My name is Brant Johnson. I am the microbiology project lead. I also lead our isolations group. So I work within microbe research isolations in the microbiology program. I don't want to sound super cheesy, but honestly, everyone I work with at AgBiome is kind and compassionate, and they are super focused on doing right by the vision that we have at AgBiome, but also doing right by their coworkers. So I can't express how much that means. To be able to come to work every day and actually want to be at work, it's not trivial. So every time we interview someone, they're like, what is your favorite thing about AgBiome? I will say it every time, it's the people.
The other sort of discovery element is trying to figure out how to work together best. Scott and I had some strong shared ideas about principles about how we ought to work together. And the core of it is really you're the person you are. You don't play some role when you come to work, and it's okay to be the person that you are, because then you're way more involved in what you're doing anyway. If you're going to spend most of your waking hours doing this, you shouldn't have to, role play or kiss up to people or get involved in politics. And so a lot of this is learning by counterexample, right? If you've been in situations where that was the currency or the coin of the realm, you kind of want to get away from that.
Hi, my name is Ann Walsh. I'm head of talent acquisition and HR business partner here at AgBiome. I've been recruiting for over 3 decades. And what I will say is I've worked in companies where you talk about culture, but it's just words. And here, it actually means something. It's actually thoughtful. It's something that we really work hard to incorporate into our hiring process, not only just to preserve the culture and the culture change that we're looking forward to, but also to ensure success for the person who's going to join us. In the end, the payback is we have such a wonderful group of people to work with.
People can do really incredible things with sort of minimal resources. So I've learned that we can be really flexible and agile and sort of play with the big boys without having the big boy resources. One of the things that I've personally learned is just that there is a sense of responsibility that each of us can take, and it's really fulfilling when you're working with people who are all working towards a common goal and have that sort of sense of like, here's the vision. You don't need to have this sort of prescriptive, you do this, you do this, you do this. It's like everyone just does that because they want to accomplish this, yeah.
The reason we have such a strong opinion about the culture of the company is because we really believe that any company's success depends on the people that work in it, period. In the end, it's the human beings that work in the company. And if you're going to be the best discovery company in the world, which is what we want to be and which we're achieving in our area, then the people really matter, and you need to figure out how to enable them to do as good a job as possible in a way that where they're fully there.
One of the hard parts of doing this stuff can be you work at stuff for so long. When it finally happens, it's like, well, it's more like relief than it is elation, you know. But those are always like really big, you know, they're peak achievements, I guess, is what I would call them. So getting the partnership deals done that we did, that was huge for us. That first partnership we had with Syngenta, we closed that in the middle of 2014, and it was a big effort. There were a lot of people involved. It took damn near 18 months to get that thing done because we actually started talking to them before the company was really even going. But that was like, wow, okay, I think we really got something here because these people are willing to actually open their wallets up and work with us because we've got something that they see that nobody else has. So that was huge.
I'm Amber Smith, and my role is a product development project manager. So I'm in the development group. Honestly, moving into this building was a big milestone. When we built this building and moved all the equipment over here, it was crazy because this place is so much bigger than 18, and you know, we've fit dozens more cubes in this building, and so that I remember that being a really big milestone because it kind of felt like we were legit then. We were like, wow, we're in a different place now.
Project-wise, along the way, when we started to do work for the registration of Howler, that was huge.
Yeah, first samples collected, first samples received, opening of this building, building 1, reaching 100,000 strains that we sequenced, launch of 2 products, each of them was quite a milestone, absolutely. Expanding into genome editing and spinning out a live edit, it's quite memorable as well. Each of the signed deals that we had with other companies, I remember the first one was Syngenta, second was Genactive. Now we have a second one with Genactive going. All of those are quite memorable things. So it's really great and lots of accomplishment in 10 years for a relatively small company.
Those were really huge milestones that, again, were like, yes, this is real, this is going to be a product, we need to do these steps, and here are the people that are going to make it happen.
I really, I worked on the original Howler. I mean, I remember growing it up in the fermentation lab when we were first even trying to figure out how we could make this thing grow and have the efficacy that we needed it to. So it's been really special for me in particular because I'm like, oh, I remember when you were a baby and now you're a grown-up. And so that's really nice. And I feel like not necessarily at all points through that time have I necessarily had an impact on Howler directly, but I feel like I've always had an indirect tie to it, and I've always wanted it to be successful, and so for that to come to fruition is really fantastic.
Super satisfying. I mean, when you're, to have something that starts on an agar plate as a colony that's now a product that's going out and actually, helping farmers with an issue that's really real, like, super satisfying and very rare. Like, often in research we don't get that satisfaction of seeing something go from the very beginning to the very end.
Probably the most prideful moments for me are when I see somebody else at AgBiome talk about AgBiome.
Yeah.
And how they, whether it be talking about the technology and what we've achieved, or they talk about how they enjoy working here and how it's kind of nurtured them and their career and whatever. There's nothing better than that.
A challenge we've got, I think every company has it, is to get as many people as possible feeling like fully empowered to tell the story like it's their story. It's way more impactful to hear other people say the stuff in their own words.
This is not our thing.
Yeah.
This is our thing.
Yeah,
it's everybody here.
And just trying to, so that's
I've never sequenced a gene. I've isolated some microbes, but only a few. I haven't isolated any that have made it into products, okay? So other people here are the ones that deserve the credit.
I'm Tony Bucci, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at AgBiome. I came to AgBiome because I wanted to come back to my roots, which was finding sustainable solutions for farmers. I actually studied biological pesticides for my graduate work and ended up going to a chemical company. It was not the time to enter the market with biologicals, so I spent 23 years working on chemistries, and this was a great opportunity to come back and really help feed the world responsibly. It has been a wonderful roller coaster over the last 4 years. There's extreme highs and extreme lows, and the highs have definitely outweighed the lows. We've accomplished a lot as a small team, and I think we've proven that we can weather the storms and really deliver on our mission.
I'm Kelly Liberator. I'm the director of our tech service team. So looking forward over the next 10 years or so, I'm really excited to see what kinds of new innovations, what microbial strains we're able to find that are even more highly active and allow us to access different markets and different segments and deliver a product that you have to use at a much lower use rate. I'm also really excited to see what kinds of new challenges come about. Challenges you can either look at from the perspective of, oh, it's something bad, but it can also be something good, right? Because challenges also arise, and that's how we as a society push forward and really innovate and change the way that we're doing things. So I'm excited to see what new challenges we have in the agricultural world as well.
I'm most excited about, really getting to a point where we. I don't want to say stable because we're stable now, but where we're really owning it, where we're like, okay, we've come into our own, we've come into our full. I'm really excited about that. And then once we reach that point, then I'm excited about the next things that we're going to do. So are we going to branch out into other industries, or what other solutions are we going to decide to develop?
So we've already shown and proven to ourselves and to our customers and our investors that we're here for the long haul. So I'm most excited to continue to execute on all the great ideas that we've developed as a team and show the world, and most importantly our growers, that we can really bring them new sustainable tools to help them manage their business and help feed the world responsibly.
One of my favorite quotes from business is that business is problems. That's all you get to deal with. So it's not like we're not going to have problems or setbacks. We will, but if we can stick together as a company and as humans, we can overcome those problems. And so I think we're going to have things in front of us But if you think about what our purpose is, it's really rewarding. It's something that's easy to get behind and love and embrace. And we've got a great culture of people that are going to be able to overcome any of those problems.
I think we've built a team of people who dream and are ready to make us even more successful.
I think the possibilities are endless. Again, as we bring on different minds, different thought processes, I think that our company will really go forward in so many different and exciting areas that will be really impactful to the world and to each of us individually. So I'm excited about the next 10 years and what we're going to do.